Alright guys, welcome back to the show. Thanks for joining me. Today we're going to talk about, I've had a few people say, how do you install a UHF? Now, I'm not an electrical expert by any stretch of the imagination, but it's really not that difficult, provided you fuse everything and know where your feeds are. It's not going to be that hard. So today what we're going to do is we're going to install, where is it? I've lost it. It's right over here actually. What we're going to install is this GME. This is a TX3120 S. Now, a lot of you guys remember, which I'll show you right here, I have a ICOM 410 Pro in the car, in one of the DIN slots in the front of the car. I also have my antenna out on the roof, because like I said in a previous video, height is might. A lot of people put antennas on bull bars. It is not the best place for an antenna. Yeah, it looks good, of course, but for practicality, a line of sight all the way around the vehicle is always going to be the best. Now, let me talk about antennas, and I'll show you a couple of things. Now, the ones I'm going to talk about here are antennas that I use. I only use RFI antennas, good Australian company, used on all the emergency service vehicles, you know, police, fire, ambulance, etc. Now, I'm going to tell you a couple of things, the ones that I use that I get the best performance out of. I've changed over my time, but this is what I've settled on. Now, when you actually get your antenna, an example would be you can buy this one in a pack. Now, this is an RFI CD34. Now, if I just go down here, comes in a pack like this, the RFI CD34. Again, I'll put all the links in the description. Now, this is like a rubber ducky 4 dB antenna. Now, this is great for the city, and I'll show you how I've installed mine. Mine goes up on the roof here, which runs to my main radio, which again is the ICOM 410 Pro. But with installing this GME, this one is going to be monitoring my channel 40, so this is going to be my second radio. So we're going to show you how to install that. Okay, obviously they'll ask you when you want to get it, do you want the cable with it? Now this is a SO235, or sorry, SO239 I should say, connector. Now obviously the little ring comes off. If I just put it up here, the ring comes off. Okay, up through your bracket, ring over the top, pretty self-explanatory. But the good part about this one is you can install a few different antennas on there. Okay, so this is obviously for your going around the city and stuff like that. Perfect, which I've got on my car currently running on the ICOM 410 Pro. What you can then do is buy a separate whip. Now this one, guys, you probably see this one if I can actually get it in the camera view, is the RFI CD63 7155, I think it is, but you've got to make sure it's got the MBC base. This is the MBC base, SO239 base, whatever you'd like to call it. RFI calls it their MBC base. So obviously you can chuck on this antenna, which is 6 dB of gain. Obviously when I'm driving around, I want to go out bush with friends, I want a bit more coverage up on the roof. But again, like I said, guys, anytime you've got coverage, or you've got your antenna, I should say, on the roof, you've got to watch out for car parks. You've got to watch out for drive-through, you know, hot food places. You've got to watch out for in the big shopping centers where you've got those overhanging things. You're probably best off only running that during certain periods. So what I normally do, as I said, is I run the rubber ducky when I'm at home, not going out, stuff like that. I'm not out bush. And then I put this one on when I'm out in the bush or on the way to the bush. When I get to the bush, if I know it's really, really thick, I'm going to probably be hitting my top of my vehicle or at least the roof racks, then obviously take that one off. Even though that one, as surprisingly, is quite bendy. I mean, look at that. That's really bendy. I mean, a lot of people, I had the ones with the springs before on the front of the bull bars. Yeah, they're fine, but again, an antenna on the roof is your best bet. This is 6 dBi. It's not going to cover your vision, and I actually like this one because it's, one, it's really flexible, and number two, because I can easily change it when I need to. So as that one, as I said, RFI antennas based here in Australia, not far from my house. Sometimes I pick up a few products from Ian, and they've always been very, very helpful, RFI. And again, I only buy them because they're best. They don't pay me or anything. I just think they make absolutely fantastic products. So like I said, I put the rubber ducky on the CD34 when I'm at home, and then use the CD63 when I'm out bush or traveling to and from where I need maximum coverage. And this one on the roof, I tell you what, I get excellent distance because I have a field of view all the way around the vehicle, and that's the most important thing. Having them on the bull bar, is it the best position? Absolutely not. Absolutely not, it's not. up high is always the best. Sometimes I get better results with this on the roof than I did with my 6dB on the bull bar. So we're going to install it today. Again, we're going to run this cable. I'm going to show you how to run this cable. Of course, one other thing too before we go to the installation, this is the FME connector. Now, if I can just zoom that in for you. Okay, now this is on the new, I'm not sure if it's new GME, but the FME, right, screws, this is like a mini, just screws straight into the back of the radio, right? Now that's good because that's fine, but also too on other radios like my ICOM, it runs on the PL239 connector, which is this connector right here. If I can get that to zoom in and focus on it. Will it focus? Yes, it did. So that's the 239 connector, okay? And what that does, the FME plugs straight into there, and that goes into your, you obviously just tighten it up and then bang, straight into your ICOM. But again, the new GME, the one I'm installing, is actually going to run on that FME connector, which is good. Now the reason they put the FME connector on is because, you know, it's easy to run through your firewall. So we're going to find a grommet to run through the firewall. I've already done it before, so I know where my one is. Can you imagine trying to run that, you know, if I can focus on it, trying to run that through your firewall? You'd need a hole about this big, whereas the FME connector, not a problem whatsoever. So we're going to install this, as I said, this one, and the rubber ducky, and the, whoopsie daisy, the CD63 from RFI. We're going to find a power source, show you how to run it. It's not too hard. Let's get into it. All right, guys, so the first thing we're going to do on the bull bar is this is where we're going to install the second radio. Yes, I don't want a second one on the roof because it's not that important. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the connector here. We're going to run it through there. We're going to run it up through the engine, up through here. And then if you can actually see down in here, there's actually a rubber grommet. Now you probably can't see it, but there's actually is a rubber grommet just down here, and we're going to pass the antenna up through here, over here, and then run it through the grommet and then in under the glove box in the vehicle. We've just fed it through. As you can see, we've just tightened up the nut. We're just going to feed that through the grill here, and then we're going to feed it up to the grommet. We've got the cable through. You've just run it here through the top of the grill. Now it's come out here, so what we're going to do now is we're actually going to pull this through. As I said, run it up here and then through the grommet. But before we actually run it through the grommet, a tip I actually wanted to give you guys is spray a little bit of inox or lanox or a lubricant silicone on the cable before you actually pass it through, and a little bit on the rubber grommet there, because if you actually do, it's going to be easy to pull through. It's going to make things a whole lot easier. So spray a bit on the cable and a bit on the grommet, the internal firewall grommet, to get it through. Alright guys, so there's the grommet. I'm actually going to pass mine through. You can see the cables going through it right there. So we're just going to lube it up, and then we're going to pull it through from the front cab. We're going to remove the glove box to pull it through, and then we'll run it from there. Alright guys, by the way, I didn't tell you guys, if you haven't got a hole in your grommet, your firewall grommet, just make one with like a screwdriver. It's not a big deal. You can silicone it up a little bit later. But we've got mine through now, so I'm feeding it down into the cab, and we're going to go pull it through. It can be a little bit cumbersome to get through. Push as much through as you can so it actually flops down underneath the glove box so you can actually grab it. All right, once we do that, we're going to go and pull it through properly, but make sure you get all the excess cable through first before you go and pull it through, so you know exactly where it's going to sit. And you don't want to get it caught on something like I just did there, where actually I've done it wrong now because I wanted it to go underneath that. Alright guys, I've taken the glove box out. As you can see here, mine's just an easy clip in and clip out glove box. So because I've pulled it all through, you can actually see here now how it's actually come through. So it's actually, I don't have to get there and fight for it, look for it. It's easily just come through, and I'll obviously go there, pull it all through, and then I'll just tie it up there somewhere. So in this vehicle, guys, thought I'd just give you a bit of a tip before we go on. There's my ICOM 410 Pro. I'm going to run the antenna under here, under this part here, which is really easy to take off. And then under here, there is a cigarette lighter. Now, it's obviously inside there. There's a little cap there for the cigarette lighter. Now, there's obviously a feed coming underneath here to feed that. I did install a voltage meter running off the accessories. So that I'm going to take the power from that connector that's powering this accessory inside here, which normally charges phones and stuff like that. So inside here, you probably can't see, but there's 2 screws. They come out, and pretty much this console will just lift right out. That's really good. And then once we get that out, there's 2 more screws here, which then lifts this up. So I'm going to feed the antenna through there, underneath here, lift it up a little bit so I can slide it along under there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to bring it underneath the center console, and that's where I'm going to mount the radio on the back. Because like I said, you want to actually get it so you can actually know which radio's on at each specific time, because if both the radios are up the front, you're probably not going to know which radio it's coming from. And then what we're going to do, we're going to tap into that 12 volt accessory source to actually run and power the radio. Alright guys, this is how easy it is to pull off the console in the Triton. It's just the 2 bolts, and then it just lifts off over the top of the handbrake. So these are the feeds. Now this little feed here still is for my little voltage meter, and that one there, that little yellowy white one, that's actually for the feed for the 12 volt socket inside the armrest to charge phones and stuff like that. Wrapped it up there. What I might do is just come down just a little bit further, tap into it again, and then run a cable. To get the antenna through this little hole here, which is there, we're just going to release these 2 bolts here. We don't have to take that off. All we do is lift it up a bit so the edges here come up, and I'll slide it along so it actually comes out through that little hole there, and we'll just run it along here and then underneath the back when we actually pull the cables out. So let's tap into this 12 volt source. Again, on the radio's actually got a fuse. Of course, this accessory is already fused via the fuse block, so we don't need to worry, but obviously the connection that came with the radio has a fuse. So that's actually a good thing. You can never have too many fuses. Now, the fuse is not to protect the radio or any electrical equipment. It's to protect the wiring, because if the wiring gets too hot and you haven't got a fuse, starts a fire, and goodbye to your vehicle will catch fire. So that's what a fuse is used for, not to protect the equipment, but protect the wiring so we don't cause a fire and your car burns to the ground. Alright guys, so there I'm going to tap into it at the bottom there. I'm just about to solder it up and wrap it around these 2 wires here. Okay, this is what I've done here too. I wanted to show you guys something. This goes into the radio. Right, this is the part I'm actually going to wire in. Good part about it is I've put this little mini Anderson plug here. So if I ever need to take the radio with me, all I can do is simply leave the cord there, unplug it. That's it. Take the radio with me, take that with me, and then that will just stay underneath there. So that'll be connected down there, and then I'll just put that back there. So if somebody ever wants to run a connection, all they've got to do is, put on another mini Anderson plug, and they can plug another accessory, low draw accessory onto it. And then I just take this with me, and then same thing, get another bit of cable and do the same thing on the next car. That's of course if I'm actually going to take the radio with me, but I may not, but you never know. So that's why I've done that. So we're going to just solder this up now, wrap around this cable, solder it up, and then just check the radio, see if we can actually get it to work. Of course, we've still got the antenna here, haven't run that yet. But like I said, before you put everything back, test it to make sure it's working before you do it, before you fix it up and get all the way finished and realize, holy shit, it's not working. All right, guys, looks like we've got power. Currently on channel 80. If we go down to, I think it was, one of the repeaters, channel 3. There we go. I like this one with the turn dials.
Yeah, got to it before it become a problem.
Yeah.
That problem with my kids, all it was a case of putting in the bloody baby camera.
There you go, guys. We've got power. That's how I did at the moment. Obviously, I've only soldered the wires. I've separated just so I could test the radio. Now we're going to shrink them all up, do what we need to do, and then we're going to put, I've taken the bolts out of here. So see how that lifts up a bit, so I can actually get the antenna along this edge through the hole, and then we're going to come out the back there and mount the radio on the back of the console and have the cables all covered by the console. It's going to be awesome. Actually, I'm surprised how loud this radio is, this new TX3120S. Got some, and it's good because it comes because it's got the speaker on the unit and also the speaker on the handheld thing as well, so it gets quite loud. You know?
Fuck that.
You know? Tell you what, there's a lot of idiots on the Channel 3 repeater. That's why I normally take those out of the scan, unless I actually want to listen to it, but normally run the channels that you want. I normally leave the first 10 out because I don't really want to hear the repeaters. So anyway, guys, what we're going to do, we're just going to run that cable through there, get everything nice and sweet, and then mount the radio on the back of the console. It's going to pretty much sit like that. So I'm going to use, because it's so light, I'm going to use this sticky Velcro. And that's what's going to actually stick on the back of it. I'm not going to mount it on the actual clip, just stick it on the back and see how that fares. If it doesn't go that well, then I'll probably just permanently mount it. But let's get it all wired up and finished off. I've just ran the cable. The excess is back here, but I've run the cable. It's gone through this part under here and out to the back to the radio. Now we're going to put the center console back in and start packaging this all up. As I said, radio's working fine, so now it's the process of putting everything back together. Alright, let's grab the console and let's put it back in. Alright guys, finally got it done. Just running one of the repeaters, number 3 I think, channel 3. So got it done. I ran the cords, as I said, just up under there through the back of the console. As you see, everything's back in, ready to go. So guys, hope that helped you a little bit, and you know, go and install your radios, don't feel scared. Everything's fused, can't really go wrong. So this is only a small amp draw, so it's not going to be a problem connecting it to your accessories. So you know, go check it out if you want to install one. Go install a UHF radio. They're great to have in the car. They're great to have to, you know, look at certain things, listen to certain things, you know, find out what's happening up ahead, traffic conditions, talking to friends during a hunting trip. You should enjoy it, so go purchase yourself a UHF, and I hope this helps you. See you next time.